This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Kathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started.
Hello, I'm Kathy Worthington. Welcome to Late Boomers. Today, our special guest is someone who can help you check an item off your bucket list and make your travel dreams come true. Rodney George is the founder and managing partner at Luxe Travel Consultants, a luxury travel company based in Naples, Florida, with an expertise in luxury accommodations and experiences that have made him and his team sought-after consultants for luxury travelers.
And I'm Mary Elkins. With his team of travel professionals, he keeps a keen eye for detail and a dedication to personalized service. He tailors each trip to his client's needs, and he curates the perfect travel experience, whether it's for a romantic getaway or a family vacation or even corporate travel. Welcome, Rodney. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. Please tell us about your background and early influences that led you to the work you're doing today.
Oh, wow. That goes way back. I was a financial advisor for over 30 years, retired at 55, and was really quite disenchanted with playing golf every day and partying in the afternoons into the evenings.
Sounds like a terrible life.
I'm not going to live very long at this rate. And so a good friend of mine says, you should go to work for a travel agency. You've been everywhere. You've done everything. And I said, I don't want to work for anybody. He goes, well, then start your own. And so I did 16 years ago. And today I have 10 wonderful ladies that work with me here in Naples. And we have planned some of the most phenomenal vacations imaginable. And collectively, right at 200 years of experience within the travel industry. So it's a real deep cadre of knowledgeable people.
Wow. Sounds like you have it right. I'm sure a lot of people are very jealous of you. Tell us first, what's new in the world of luxury travel, and also, what are the latest travel trends?
Starting with the travel trends, one of the big things that luxury travelers are looking for now is what we call experiential travel. They've been there, done that with throughout most of the world. So they want to do something that's off the paved roads. They want to do something to drill deeper. They want to check off that seventh continent, which we do a huge business to Antarctica right now because everybody's trying to get that one more continent checked off. But we do basically every continent and all 7 of the oceans of the world, regardless of what form of travel you want to take. We can probably put something together that will make the trip not only memorable for you, but for those people traveling with you.
So what would you say would be like something very unusual? One example besides Antarctica.
Probably the most unusual thing right now is a company called Space Perspectives.
Oh.
Have you seen it?
No, but I'm hearing the name.
They've been working on the technology for about 10 years now, and it is basically a space capsule hanging far below a gas-filled balloon that takes you into the edge of outer space, 12 people at a time. It's not for the meek at heart, and it's certainly not for people that don't have a nice net worth, because I believe the current cost is $125,000 per person.
Wow. Is that all?
And get this.
I'm kidding to our audience.
6-year wait list right now.
Wow.
But do you have to do wait list training before you go?
No, wait list. to get on.
Oh, I know
You've
that.
got
But
to
do you
wait
have to
6
do you
years.
have to do training to be weightless? Weightless, not
No, no,
waitlist. Oh,
no.
okay.
You're in a great big chair that looks like a big first class seat on an airline. You're
Oh,
strapped in, and there's a flight attendant that's bringing you cocktails. There's a restroom on board. I mean, these people spared no expense to make this thing
How big
real.
is it?
12 people.
But is
Take
it how large a space?
It's probably the size of your living room, unless you live in a
Oh,
jumbo house. It's very
and
intimate.
and
You're
how long
seated in a
does
circle so you can talk to everybody.
it last?
The whole thing going up and coming back down is about an hour and a half
oh, for
Mhm.
for
well, that's
125.
that's quite a lot of people with a lot of cash.
Yeah.
Fun.
And what
They must
what
have a
And
great time together.
what would you say constitutes luxury in travel? What makes it luxury?
well, luxury is one of those words that means different things to different people. So when we sit down with somebody, they know we're luxury because it's in our name. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they know we're luxury because we're in Naples, Florida. And when they walk in the door, from the coffee we serve to the champagne we serve to everything else, they know that we're all about the luxury experience. But it needs to be their luxury experience. So we spend a good 45 minutes to an hour with a new client finding out what is luxury to them and why is that important.
Hmm.
And, we used to start off with simple questions like, if you're traveling and you're paying your own bill, do you stay at the Red Roof Inn, the Holiday Inn, the Marriott, or the Ritz Carlton? And that way you kind of, if they're Ritz Carlton, then we know they're bona fide luxury. But we've got a far more complex questionnaire that we go through now to make sure that the experience is what they're looking for. And then we match up one of our executive concierges that literally holds their hand from the moment the trip is completely planned until they come home.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a very special occasion, or two, or three, or four, or
Well,
10.
and the one thing that we really do well is multi-generational family vacations where grandma and grandpa go and the kids go and the grandkids go and grandma or grandpa signs the check, picks up the tab. As a matter of fact, the local newspaper here in Naples did a feature story on us a couple of years back, and it was called "Take the Kids and Pick Up the Tab." And that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah, really.
It's always the older
That's great.
we
generation that gets stuck with paying all the bills.
well, Douglas Ivester, he's a former CEO of the Coca-Cola company. He once was quoted as saying that dreams are better than memories. And
Ah,
my rebuttal to him is, you obviously know nothing about memories, because if I take my children and say, I've got $20,000 for each one of you, and we're going to do this trip, or you can have the money to pay off your credit cards. That's not an option. Paying off your credit cards. You will forget that tomorrow. But when we do a memory filled vacation, you'll remember it long after I'm gone, and it'll be pleasant memories for the rest of your life. So that's what it's all about. It's
absolutely.
not about dreams, it's about creating memories.
Ah, I
Oh,
love that.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
and so true. So true.
It
Well,
is.
you've given a couple of reasons why a person should use a travel advisor versus planning their own trips. But tell us how your client should hello, choose a travel advisor.
Well, first of all, you want to find somebody that gets you, that shows compassion for what you want, because it doesn't matter what I want, it's what you want. And my old friend Jim Rohn, who was a great motivational speaker back in the 80s and 90s, he always said, reckon why God gave you two ears and only one mouth. And he said, I don't know, but I've got a suspicion. I've never talked directly to God, but I think he intended for all of us to listen twice as much as we talk. And so that's what we do. We ask questions and we listen.
Give us
Hmm.
an example of a question.
Well, if we were meeting here a year from today and you've done this vacation that we're just starting to talk about with your children and your grandchildren, what has to have happened for you to want to go again? not same destination probably, but to do another multi-generational vacation. What has to happen? So we know the ultimate, what totally they're looking for, bottom, what's the icing on the cake? And they will always tell you, sometimes with tears in their eyes, what they want to do. I had a client in yesterday, just found out his wife has Alzheimer's. And so their immediate family vacation this year, because Alzheimer's has not, the real signs haven't kicked in yet, but the diagnosis is clear. And so this is probably the most important vacation they'll ever take as a family. And so I spent 5 hours last night just trying to put the pieces together so I could meet with him this morning, because he is one of those people that has a sense of urgency that we don't necessarily look forward to.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, wow. And would you tell people, you're going to contradict this, but are travel advisors just middlemen who take a commission? Or what are the advantages to working with an advisor?
That's probably the ultimate question that I wish everyone would ask when they come in the office, Kathy, because
Yeah.
you can pick up the phone and call any travel vendor on earth and book it yourself. Or you can call us and we'll handle all the details. And our price will be the same price as it was for you calling the vendor. But we removed all the hassle factor. We know all the things that you're typically going to overlook. We literally do door to door, from the car that picks you up to take you to the airport in your hometown to the car that brings you back to the front door. And it's all buttoned up in a nice package. We have an app that's on your smartphone or your tablet or your computer that has everything you're doing every day, who to contact, what their phone number is if you can't find them when you come off the ship or whatever it is that you're doing. So it's really that value add. I had a client in the office the other day that has a American Express Centurion, which I guess if there's an ultimate credit card, that's it. You have to be invited to have a Centurion card. And he was telling me that, I'm so tired of calling and getting a different person every single time I call. Whereas when you call our office, you either get me or you get the concierge that's working with you. If neither one of us are there, I've got a partner who is 42 years in the business, and she used to run one of the largest travel agencies for a national firm here in Naples, the number one office in their chain. And we convinced her to come on board about 5.5 years ago. And that totally changed our demeanor, our everything about our agency.
I was going to ask you if it costs extra to work with a travel advisor. And you said that it didn't cost anything extra. I don't think that people know, the average person, and even the Luxe traveler knows what the interim costs are in there that you pay for, but you're not aware of. Can you help us learn more about that?
Well, there's so many moving parts of a vacation, and especially if you've got people from 80 to 8 months, there's so many factors you have to take into account. But the one thing that always comes through resoundingly is we don't expect perfection, because we know the world is not perfect anymore. Not that it ever was, but what we want is continuity and someone to call if there's a problem or an emergency. And so, I mean, I've gotten calls at 3 o'clock in the morning when I got out of bed and turned the coffee pot on and started trying to solve a problem for a client. The phone rings, we answer, I guess, is the bottom line. Most people don't call at 3 a.m, though.
Unless they're overseas.
Yeah.
This guy was stuck in Dallas trying to get to Rio, and he was concerned that the ship wouldn't be there when he got there. And I said, well, remember, the ship is your hotel in Rio for 2 or 3 nights, so it'll be there. Problem was his luggage never made it.
I've seen that.
We found his luggage. The airline could have cared less where his luggage was.
We're not editing this, just so you know.
No, we're leaving that.
we found his luggage, and someone from the home office of the cruise line flew an employee to Rio de Janeiro to claim their luggage, get it through customs, and fly it to Ushuaia so that they had their luggage.
Wow. Oh,
And I will tell you
wow.
this, not every travel advisor in the world gets that kind of treatment. But when you're in the cutting edge top echelon with the luxury providers, they know who you are and they do everything in the world to accommodate us.
Great. Are there any
Right.
special credit cards that are more travel friendly? And if so, what are they?
Kathy, you've been reading too much, but that's a great question. And it literally changes month by month. I'll
Oh,
tell you that there's so many facets of travel out there. If you ask me today, I'd tell you it's probably the Capital One Venture card, but that may be different next month. It might be the American Express Platinum card next month. It really changes, and it does pay to stay on top of that because those perks add up over time.
but you don't want to be
Yeah, well,
opening up
that's a
multiple credit card accounts. You don't
No,
want a bunch of cards because all those cards are high
so you find a
fees.
couple that work.
Yeah.
They're usually high fees, but you wanna find a card that works for you and your travel style. For example, one of the airlines has a partnership where if you take out their credit card, you get 80,000 miles. Well, that's 2 or 3 domestic round trips. And if you do enough business with them, you get a companion pass so that your companion flies free with you for the next 12 months. You
mm.
gotta look for deals like that.
Where do you look
Mm.
for them?
Well, you could subscribe to our newsletter and we'll tell you about those kinds of things. Or you can read through the menagerie and the stacks of paper that people throw on your driveway or put in your mailbox every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
there's
that's
those
for
other
sure.
internet sites that you have to find that do that, and they
Yeah, we're at the point with the internet that you can't even glance an eyeball at something when you're online without it starting to pop up in all your social feeds now.
that's right. That's so true.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or talk on the sofa with someone in your living room without your phone even on, and all of a sudden that stuff an hour later is popping up on your Facebook and your Instagram feeds.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Scary, isn't it?
People are listening to you.
They are listening. Uh,
Or AI
okay, are
is.
there? Yeah, AI. Well, I have Alexa. Oh, I shouldn't say that. I have one in here. It'll
Yeah,
answer me.
she'll wake
But
up.
Doesn't
I
matter.
have
She's
that.
listening anyway.
It
Yeah.
knows my name and it knows a lot about me. Okay, I have a question about places in the world where it's imperative to work with a travel advisor in the interest of experience and safety. Where might those places be?
Well, number one on the list for that would be Africa. There's
Mm.
so many ins and outs and oohs and ahs in Africa, and some political disturbances from time to time in countries like Kenya, which is really a country that most people want to go to. But you really need to make sure that, and trust me when I tell you that we are in touch with the people that are in touch with knowing what's going on around the world from a political perspective. Right now, the State Department's saying, Bahamas level is really high as far as, they've been murdering tourists down there. Well, they've been doing that for a long time. The government just now figured it out. But, so you stay away from places like that. We don't ever want to put a client into harm's way if we can keep from it, because if we put them in harm's way, they're probably not coming back to do business with us if they come back at all.
Exactly. Exactly. And what would the number two place be?
Well, I guess Bahamas is definitely number two right now. Haiti would be number one right now. Of
Haiti.
course, you've seen all the stuff going on there. Uh,
Yeah.
certain parts of Mexico have become very dangerous. So it really pays to have someone that can go. You may think you want to do that, but let me just tell you a couple of gotchas about going there right now.
Well, does your service extend to the time your clients are away? And I think you answered that already. And if so, what have been your greatest challenges with that? You did say your service extends. So I apologize
It
to
does.
repeat the question.
No, we are working with the client from the time that they say, this is what we think we want to do, until they come home from having done it. The client that I was telling you about, that his luggage was lost, he had some very important meds in his luggage, even though everything we sent him said, don't put your meds in your checked baggage, but he did.
Yeah.
And so there was a real high level of concern about getting that luggage to him. And the sad part of that whole story was that the airline tried to deliver the luggage to the wrong cruise line.
Oh,
And fortunately, they knew it. They didn't have a passenger, so they left it with their shoreside agent. And we had to send a UPS driver to pick it up. And when the UPS driver took it to customs, they wouldn't release it for 5 days because the people that owned the luggage weren't there to claim it. That's when we flew the home office employee in to pick up their luggage and personally fly it to the ship, which was then in Ushuaia, almost to Antarctica.
I've never
Wow.
heard of any advisor or travel agent doing that.
You know what? When you have a client that has a difficulty, it doesn't matter what the price of getting it fixed is, you fix it.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Love that
And
answer.
this happens to be a client. This happens to be a client that loved to do an around the world cruise every other year. So it was a particular concern to us. But most important thing was that he's a client, and we promised to take care of him until he got home. So
Mm. Well, on that note, what about travel insurance? And also, does it cover something like that? Or what does it cover? And is it worth it? Do you advise people to take it?
well, there's a couple of fallacies about travel protection insurance. A lot of people think if they purchase something on their credit card, hey, I'm covered. But if you call the credit card company and ask them to explain what the coverage is, it's like de minimis. There's virtually no coverage. And if you cross the border of the United States into another country, you're in 95% of the instances, your health insurance doesn't work anymore. Medicare doesn't work anymore. Your Medicare supplement doesn't work anymore. You're on your own. And so our biggest claims that we've had with travelers is not to get their money back if they have to cancel, even though that's sometimes a pretty good sized number. It's when they have to be taken care of in intensive care and flown back to the United States on a special plane. And those claims get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to say that the insurance company that we use in our agency, we have never had a claim altered, amended, or reduced in value. They've paid 100% of the claims we've had over the last 11 years.
Are
Can
And
you
you free
say
to
what that
mention their
company
name?
is?
yes, it's Allianz,
Oh, Allianz. Okay.
Allianz.
All right. Allianz.
And we have to beat on them. We have to beat on them. We have to get their arm up behind their back sometimes, but we get it done. I think volume speaks a lot when you're trying to get something fixed for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we own a Cruise Planners franchise, but we're also part of Signature Travel Network, which is one of the largest travel consortiums in the country. And so when we call, I'm not calling as Rodney George. I'm calling as a travel advisor for either Cruise Planners or Signature Travel Network. And all of a sudden you're talking at a totally different level with what your issue is that you're trying to resolve.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Great
Well,
answer.
Rodney,
Thank you. I
many
think a lot of
women,
our listeners will benefit by that.
many women and men have taken to traveling alone. So, what has changed in the world of solo travel, and how would you advise that one navigate that arena?
Oh, that's always a tough subject because obviously if I own a cruise ship and I've got a stateroom there and I have a choice of putting one person in that stateroom or two, I want two. And so
Mm-hmm.
if I'm only going to have one in there, I may have to charge extra. As a matter of fact, about 90% of the time I'm going to charge extra. The question is, how much extra? And some of the better brands are now taking select sailings, maybe 20-25% of their inventory, and saying, if you book before a certain date, we waive the single supplement, which is what it's called. And if you've got
Whoa.
a room that costs you $10,000 and you've got to pay for two people, now it's 20, but they're waiving that if you book. So you save $10,000, which will more than pay for your airfare and all your incidentals.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah.
have a
So
friend that's going on a cruise where she's getting stuck paying the double fare. Like the whole thing, she has to pay
uh-huh.
double because she wants to go on her own because she's traveling with friends and they're couples and she's not. So she's booked it anyway. but she's eating the whole price of a second person, even though the second person isn't there to eat anything.
It's non-existent. That's right.
There's no
Yeah.
food being consumed.
No, we have our system tracks single travelers, people who prefer to travel solo. And as a result of that, when that offer comes out, we have the ability to pull up a list and send out a blast that this cruise line has this window of opportunity for all these sailings if you want to try, and the phone starts ringing almost immediately.
Mm, yeah. Well,
That's fabulous.
have always loved traveling alone. It's it's a different kind of experience, but you make so many friends and meet people on these wonderful cruises and tours. It's very different than traveling with your family or with a spouse or a partner.
It's hard to share a bathroom with somebody that is just a friend, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Been there, done
Well,
that.
yeah. Would you address the changes in airline policies? And if someone doesn't happen to be a luxury traveler, and that may not be your arena at all, but I'm sure you know, how would you advise when to navigate those changes in the airline policies?
Well, I would tell you to monitor them and watch them daily because that's exactly how rapidly they are changing. I mean, the airline industry post COVID has been a mess, to say the least.
Mhm.
And so where we used to have clients that were traveling abroad to go a day early to meet up with their group or whatever they were doing, now we're telling them to go 2 or 3 days early, um, just to take the stress factor out. So you're at JFK and you're waiting to fly to Paris and your flight's canceled. No big deal. You got 2 more days before your group's even getting together for the first time. So
Good advice.
it does change that. But you know, one thing we do is we have 3 air consolidators that we work with, and they go out and contract millions and millions of dollars of airline seats. And so we're able to shop that to see what we can find that's less than you're going to find if you pick up the phone or go online and contact the airline directly.
Mm, that's
And so that's a huge benefit to our travelers. It does take away a little bit of the control that you have because you've got to go back to the air consolidator. If you have an issue, you can't go direct to the airline.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out what the
Sorry.
bless you.
Yeah.
You've got to figure out what the trade-off is and what are you willing to, what ability do you have to take the bull by the horns and book that direct with the airline so that you have total control, or do you want to save some money by going through the consolidator? And a lot of the major luxury brand cruise lines now include business class air in your cruise fare. So you have to book your air directly with the cruise line.
Mm. And, yeah, because I know that airline rates change daily, and how do you manage that? How do you know when the best time to book a flight is?
Well, the best time to book a flight is as soon as you know you're going somewhere. You've got to be inside that 330-day window. But I'll tell you a little trick that most people don't know. This happened about 4 years ago. We had a group of people going to Africa. And my sister-in-law called me and she goes, I don't think we're going to be able to go. And I go, why? And she said, well, I went on Delta and 3 days ago, flights were, now keep in mind, this is 4 years ago. This is right before COVID. She said the flights were, $5,000 a piece, or no, they were $5,000 a piece for business class for her and her 2 boys. And she said, and I went back the next day and the next day and then today, and today they're $10,000.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. You know about cookies?
Yeah.
When you
maybe.
leave cookies when you're on a website? Well, the airlines have perfected that. So she came back one time too many and they go, this lady must really need to go to Africa. So we're going to sock it to her. So the fare went from 5,000 to 10,000 for 3 people. So she goes, that's 15,000 I'm not willing to spend. And I said, just take a chill pill. I'll take care of this. So I went directly to the air consolidator, got her the same price we had, which was $4,700. But because she had gone back to Delta so many times, they said, all right, jack it up. here we go.
Yeah.
And all of them do it. All of them do it.
That's
Wow.
very interesting to know.
So if
The
you do
airlines
that,
are
if
not
you
going to like hearing that.
no, they're probably not, but it's the truth.
Yeah. Rodney, how would you, is there a trip that you've planned or taken yourself that stands out in your mind as being the most exciting and luxurious?
Wow. I would have to say we did a family vacation for a family of 13 about 5 years ago, and they wanted to charter a yacht and do the Greek Isles. And I said, well, there's a problem. And he goes,
Hmm.
what is it? And I said, you got one person too many, because in the Greek Isles, you can only have 12 fare paying passengers on a yacht. And he goes, well, maybe they would let one of them come for free. And I said, no, that still violates the rules. He goes, well, what's the next best thing? So we structured a trip where they did 4 islands in 2 weeks, starting in Athens. And we arranged first class on the what they call the fast ferries, and they would get on the fast ferry to go from Athens to Santorini to Mykonos to Crete. And the wife, the matriarch of the family, said, this is going to be so screwed up. They were staying in the absolute best hotels. They had dinner reservations at incredible restaurants. And she goes, I just don't have any confidence at all. And I said, you know what? You gotta trust us. And her husband kept trying to calm her down. Well, I can send you the case study when we get off. The raving reviews that she gave when she got back. She goes, I cannot believe 13 people for 14 days, 4 islands, and not one damn thing went wrong.
But how did you get
Yeah.
around it? I don't
What
understand the
about your
fast
own?
ferry.
Well, if you can't necessarily fly to some of those places, so the fast ferry gets you there for example, from Athens to Santorini in about 2 hours and 15 minutes, instead of the regular ferry takes about 4.5 hours. So we want to get there so we can enjoy ourselves. So you get on the fast ferry at 7:30. By 10 o'clock, you're in your hotel on Santorini.
Mm.
What about you yourself, as far as a great trip you've taken that stands out?
The most beautiful place on earth I've ever been is without a doubt Bora Bora.
Oh,
As a matter of fact, we're taking a group on a Silver Sea cruise next year with a James Beard award-winning chef as part of our posse, if you will. We're going to do 11 nights in the Society and Marquesa Islands, and then we have a pre and a post package where we go to the Four Seasons in Bora Bora, and you can have dinner at the fabulous, world-renowned Bloody Mary's restaurant, where you walk in the restaurant, there's no wooden floor, it's sandy floor. There's a meat counter. When you walk in, you pick out your entree and you go to your table, and they bring you your wine or your cocktails and whatever, and then they come back later to see how you want your steak or your fish prepared. And it is just it's a fun happy place. Literally one day before we were there several years ago, Jimmy Buffett had just shown up there the night before and played in the restaurant. Just said he knows the owner, and he goes, "You want me to play a few songs?" And he goes, "I don't want you to, but I know you're going to."
oh, that's great. Oh, what a fabulous trip. Love
Oh,
that.
it is. It is.
Yeah, I
It
love
is
it.
just the
I've been
most
to
beautiful
Bora
place in the
Bora.
world.
I have been to Bora
Yeah.
Bora, and I thought it was fabulous too.
But I tell you, the Western Canadian Rockies are a close second. We do a train trip with Rocky Mountaineer, and the
Ah,
first 2 days of the trip are on the train. The rest of it's by motor coach, but we're staying in Fairmont hotels every night. And the beauty of the Western Canadian Rockies, the water in the lakes up there is bluer than it is in Bora Bora, Kathy, if that's possible. And you know
Mm,
how
mm.
blue that water is. But it's just a fabulous place. Totally different, but those are my 2 favorite places I've been to on the planet.
oh, that's a trip I'd love to take. I'm a mountain girl. I love the mountains, love the lakes. And the train must have been fabulous. How many days?
the whole trip was 11 days. We did 2 days in Vancouver. We did 3 days total on the train. The rest of it was by motor coach. And we went to Jasper National Park. We went to Banff. We went to Chateau Lake Louise. And we ended up in Calgary to fly home. Just a fabulous, just a thrill a minute on that trip. It really was.
Sounds wonderful. Rodney, what would you like our audience to have as a takeaway today?
I think probably the biggest takeaway I could give anybody watching this is find yourself a travel advisor that you feel comfortable with, that you can communicate effectively with, that listens to you and what you want to do, and then go for it. If you don't find them, I guess plan B would be call us, because we have clients in 38 or 39 states. I've got clients I've never met that have traveled with me for 13, 14 years. We've met by Zoom now that we have Zoom, but for the first few years, all we did was talk on the phone or emails, etc. But if you really want to know the 25 things you need to know to have a great vacation, you should have your people text 25 secrets and text that to 66866. And we'll send them out this document called, oddly enough, 25 Secrets to a Great Vacation. And the last one, 25, is hire yourself a consultant or agent who is knowledgeable and honest.
Mm-hmm.
I won't tell you what the other 24 are, so you can get the report for free.
All right. Well, I want it, and I'm ready.
I've already signed up.
I'm ready to go. And I'm about to. Thank you so much, Rodney. That was great. Our guest today on Late Boomers has been Rodney George, founder and managing partner at Luxe Travel Consultants, who will make your luxury travel dreams and memories, make your dreams come true, and make your memories last forever. You can reach Rodney at luxetrav.com. That's LuxeTrav.com. And he suggests that you contact him again, as he just did, for a free white paper. And at 25 Secrets to, what is it, Rodney? You tell us one more time.
25 Secrets to a Great Vacation.
And text at 25 Secrets 66866. And reply with your email address, right?
Right. And one thing in closing, my old friend, Dr. Philip Randall, who was a gerontologist, he still is, even though he's 90 years old, I think, he always says, enjoy yourself. It's later than you think.
I'll leave it at that. Oh, and
For
Rodney,
sure.
by the way, I'd like to tell our audience, yes, for sure. I'd like to tell our audience that you have a podcast called the Luxury Travelers Podcast.
We are debuting that on April 17th with our first 3 episodes. And we'll be in all the places you find your podcast.
Great.
Thank
We're
you.
grateful. We're grateful to our Late Boomers listeners. And we want to ask you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Late Boomers Podcast, where you can watch the video version of our podcast. Also, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and give us a 5-star review. We're on Instagram at I am Kathy Worthington and at I am Mary Elkins and at Late Boomers. Let us know if we have inspired you to take action. Thanks again, Rodney.
Thank you, ladies, very much. It was fun.
Great fun. Love it.
Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.biz. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.